So today we're going to do a quick how-to video on a 3-point hitch hooking up auxiliary hydraulics to a tractor like this. Now, bear in mind the hydraulics and how we hook them up is pretty much the same for a skid steer or an excavator, so you can kind of use some of the tips and tricks today for other machines as well. So here we have a 3203 3-point hitch log splitter paired to a John Deere 2355. Now, this tractor has a closed center hydraulic system, but this video is also going to work for open center systems as well. So the first step with any auxiliary powered machine is to attach the splitter to the power source. This will be a 3-point on a tractor, a skid steer quick attach plate, or the quick attach ears on an excavator. So keep in mind, whenever you purchase a split fire auxiliary powered machine, the hose comes standard with a 1/2-inch NPT thread. Splitfire does not sell ball couplers or flat face couplers standard, and whatever route you take, depending on what kind of coupler you're using, you'll need to either purchase those from Splitfire as an option or source those yourself. So once you have your hydraulic connectors, make sure that you attach them to the end of the hose, and make sure you use Teflon tape to make sure that that connection doesn't leak. Once you've got that done, you can head up to your hydraulic ports on your machine. Make sure they're nice and clean. You know, if they're a flat face, give it a wipe. And also if it's like a Pioneer or Poppet style, go ahead, clean the ports out, make sure they're free of any dirt and debris. So now that your connections are nice and clean, you got to figure out which ports are pressure and which ports return. Now that being said, a lot of the skid steers and excavators are going to simply be both. Because there's no valving on the splitter itself, the ports, or I guess you could say connections, both are pressure and both are return depending on which way you're toggling or flipping the switch inside of the cab. Any kind of machine that has a valve on it, or splitter that has a valve on it, is going to only have the hydraulics go in a circular flow in one direction. So on a tractor, you're typically going to find one port that has a pressure and the one port that has a return. And once your splitter is fully connected to the tractor, go ahead and check that oil level. If the oil level is low, top it at the high level mark on that dipstick. Remember, use the right hydraulic oil. Don't mix dissimilar oils. If the oil level is nice and high, like it is in our case, we can continue with our setup. So go ahead, hop in that tractor and raise that splitter to a comfortable working height and engage the auxiliary hydraulics. Older machines like this John Deere might not have an auxiliary to keep the hydraulics active. That being said, newer Kubotas and some other newer tractors as well don't have a detent, so you can go ahead and grab a zip tie or a bungee cord to go ahead and keep those auxiliaries in constant flow. Now, if you have an inverted machine or a machine without a valve on it, you can skip the previous step that requires continuous flow. So now, since we have the auxiliaries locked to continuous flow, we can hop off the tractor and go to the log splitter and cycle that knife completely back and forth. Now, keep in mind again that Splitfire sends all of their auxiliary type machines without any oil in them. There's just air inside the cylinder, the valve is all full of air, so as you cycle that knife back and forth, it's going to squeeze all the air out of the system and fill your machine with your tractor's type of oil. Next, go ahead and shut down your tractor / skid steer excavator. Because you cycled this log splitter back and forth, it's going to have drained some of the fluid and put it into that log splitter. Go ahead, refill that fluid up to the top level mark on the dipstick, and be cautious not to overfill it. So once your oil's topped up and you've nicely double checked all the connections to check for oil leaks, go ahead and start that tractor or that machine. Keep in mind, whatever RPM you set the machine to is what the cycle time is going to be. So for a faster cycle time, you can go a higher RPM, or an idle is just fine in some cases, and from there, you're ready to start splitting. And when you're done splitting, detaching a log splitter is super easy. Go ahead, put the tractor or your machine in float position. If there's a valve in the splitter, go ahead and go to the valve handle, move it and cycle it back and forth to relieve any internal pressures, and from there you can disconnect the hoses off your tractor or machine. Then you can disconnect it from the 3-point hitch or the quick attach plate, and you can store it in a nice dry clean place. And if this video did not help you get your Splitfire log splitter working, feel free to call us at 509-468-3647 ask for service and they'll be more than happy to help you out. Now that being said, there is a couple things that are going to cause issues if you haven't already figured it out. If you have a closed center system and it's hooked up to an open center log splitter, you're going to have to reconfigure your valve on that log splitter to work for a closed center system. This is done with a plug that is inserted into the valve of the log splitter, which is about a 15 to 20 minute job. That being said, if you're getting a split fire log splitter with a log lifter valve, an auxiliary valve, and you have a closed center tractor, a special valve is going to need to be fitted to that log splitter to make it work. A standard valve setup will not work with a closed center system and a log lifter. There can be a various number of reasons why hydraulic circuits have issues. Air locks, fittings are too old and are not correctly opening and closing when required. And so don't be afraid to give us a call for any reason. We're more than happy to help. So I hope some of that information and some of those tricks kind of helped you get your machine set up on the back of your tractor. Of course, if you have problems, give us a call to the office. We got someone in service that's more than happy to help you out. And if you did get it going from this video, enjoy your machine.